Hey, small business people and lovers of good stories in general. Welcome to episode 28 of Small Business War Stories. And this was a great one. I sat down with Mike and Jordan of Goodwood NOLA. They're a wood and furniture fabrication company in New Orleans, and they were a riot. They're a good time. And we sat down, and as the episode goes on, so we started drinking their friend's what was it? A whiskey barrel aged gin. And it starts showing in the conversation as we progress. But we had a great time talking about how they pursued their dreams by setting out on their own and starting their custom fabrication business. And they have a really cool location and an enormous warehouse space right now. And it was really impressive to see them and see how they've progressed along as business people, as long as craftsmen. And it was just a great time. We actually ended up playing music and jamming for a couple of hours afterwards. We really hit it off, and they had some cool dogs there. And Muddy Waggers definitely hit it off with their dogs as well. And this episode was part of the Soul of America tour. And as part of the Soul of America tour, it's sponsored by Badger Mapping. Badger is the #1 app for field salespeople in the App Store, which means that it's used to basically plot a bunch of locations, and then it tells you what the fastest and most efficient way to go about hitting those locations is. I used it to map my route through the heart of America for the Soul of America tour. And if you tell them that you found them on Small Business War Stories, they'll give you 2 free months. So it's great if you have field salespeople, or if you are perhaps a field salesperson yourself. The episode is also brought to you by Tecovas Boots. That's TECOVAS Boots. And they are amazing. I wore Tecovas Boots every single day, the same pair, of the Soul of America tour for over 3 weeks straight. And they held up great. They were very comfortable and very good looking, got lots of compliments. You can go directly to them, and they have much better prices than you would see at boot stores, because they sell directly to you without an intermediary, without another store. So you can go check them out at Tecovas Boots, TECOVAS Boots.com. And the episode is also brought to you by Impact Crates. Impact Crates, they are safety dog crates, and they're made in the USA. Muddy Waggers traveled in one every day when we were going around the country. And they come in 5 different popular colors. They have red, blue, purple, tan, and gray. Mine is tan, so it's a little bit more subdued. But if you're into purple dog crates, they got it for you. And you can check them out. If you buy an Impact dog crate, you can use code MUDDY20, MUDDY20, and get 20% off, which is a great deal. And like every episode of Small Business War Stories, this episode is brought to you by Proven. Proven.com. Proven is a company I started with my business partner, Sean, and we are a leading small business hiring tool. The emphasis there is on small business. We're really excited to work with thousands of small businesses, and we are designed for small businesses without any bells and whistles that you don't need, and it's very simple and easy to use. You can join the thousands of businesses that use Proven every day, and you can check it out, a free trial at proven.com. And the cool thing is, if you have any questions, we are there to help you. So call us, give us a call. We're happy to talk to you and help you craft your job post, help you with anything you need. Without further ado, I do want to get into the episode. This was a really, really fun one with Mike and Jordan of Goodwood NOLA in New Orleans, Louisiana. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. And we are live here, and I have the pleasure today to be at Goodwood NOLA. I am sitting here with Michael and Jordan, the co-founders. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hey, Pablo.
How's it going? So first of all, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to toast with, Jordan just brought in a bottle of Euphrosyne gin, which happens to be the name of the street we're on, right? And this is one of your friends that has his gin company?
Yeah, I did a video for him years ago.
Okay.
We just happen to have shops in the same street now.
That is awesome. And he has his whiskey barrel finished gin, right?
2 years in a whiskey barrel, and it's gin.
That's
So it's
awesome.
got
Well,
some
cheers. Let's start with a toast here.
Cheers.
And it is Friday, so I guess we're closing up the day. Might as well have this. Wow, that's cool. That's kind of it's kind of like a hybrid, right? It's got the
Delicious.
gin and the whiskey finish. That's awesome. Cool.
Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. New Orleans. Here we go. It's my first time in New Orleans since the summer after 9/11. So I'm dating myself here. I did a road trip in college with one of my buddies. The Saturday after 9/11, not the summer after 9/11. So and that was a really special time in the country. And now I'm back here and just kind of getting a sense for everything. So it's been cool.
Yeah, it's changed a lot since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
A lot has
and you had
happened here.
Katrina and the recovery. And
Yeah,
I'll
the
ask
whole
you guys.
rebuilding.
Yeah, I'll ask you guys a little bit more about that. But I'd love to hear a little bit more. You have an amazing shop here, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but what is it that you guys do here?
So Goodwood NOLA is a custom design and fabrication business. We basically focus on furniture, but we build all sorts of things. Our bread and butter lately has been commercial build-outs. So, restaurants, retail spaces, coffee shops, that type of thing. We like to bundle things together: tables, benches, chairs, wall features, installations, as much as we can possibly do.
Okay, awesome. And so you guys have a metal fabrication part, and then another wood fabrication part. Is there anything else, or glass and things like that as well?
We work in many mediums, but our two big focuses are woodworking and metalworking. And
Okay.
we've recently started doing a lot of concrete work as well. We love the look of that. It's a really cool finish, great outside, which is a very big struggle for us here in New Orleans.
I bet.
Creating exterior furniture that stays good over the years, doesn't need to be maintained much. So we're focusing a lot on concrete now for that.
Very cool. And how did you guys meet? What was the inspiration to get this going?
So Jordan and I met while working for our previous employer.
Okay.
We were working at a museum.
Okay.
Building a museum, immersive exhibit, I would call it. And, we were kind of the younger people there, two of the younger people on site. And we really loved the work, but we felt like there wasn't a lot of creative freedom. It was kind of just taking orders, working really late hours. There wasn't much reward in the hard work.
Got it.
And that kind of led to what we're doing now.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike has some friends who had a restaurant called District Donuts, and they wanted a shelving unit. And we were at work one day. Mike was like, "Hey, I got a shelving unit I want to make, and for this restaurant." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Like, let's check it out." And we ended up designing the shelving unit, and they were like, "That's great, but we want to do a restaurant instead. So can you guys do that for us?" And that was really like the genesis of Goodwood.
That was the first time. Was that order big enough for you guys to say, "Well, we're doing it"?
It was, but it was more the fact that we were so young at that
Yeah.
time. I was 23 years old. Jordan was 24 years old. So
Yeah.
for us, it was like we should really seize the day here. Take this opportunity.
How long
to
have
really
you
build
guys been in
something.
business now?
Almost 3 years now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, right about 2.5 years.
Awesome. So that was what kickstarted you.
Oh yeah, big time.
So how did you didn't have a shop at the time. How did you make that show? How did you make that stuff?
One of my good friends had a garage, and we had a few tools. We had a chop saw, and that's it, really.
Yeah, a couple hand tools.
As
a
we
chop
sit
saw.
here in this enormous fabrication facility,
Yeah.
you started 3 years ago with two tools. Tools and a chop saw in a garage.
Come September, it'll be 3 years, and now we're in a 6,500 square foot facility. We have 8 people on staff here, and we crank things out every day.
That's
8 a.m.
amazing.
to 5 p.m.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And there's something really satisfying about making something with your hands. I was telling Mike before that I'm an amateur guitar maker, and also like to. I made a shelving unit for my house, so we have the shop dogs.
They're just
We
protecting
gotta check
us.
on those dogs.
Yeah, you gotta have
Make sure
shop
they're all
dogs. Something's going on. And it's like,
Jordan's on it.
yeah.
Jordan's on it.
Love it. There you go. Well, we can keep going for a minute here, but there's something really rewarding about making something with your hands that then ships out
absolutely.
and then lives in somebody's life, right?
Absolutely. And we've developed a lot over the last 3 years. In the beginning, we were coming across many more struggles on the day-to-day. We were trying to find different ways of doing things without having to take the time that it typically takes to prototype with different methods. So for us, it was lots of research, lots of literature, lots of videos, calling everyone we knew that knew how to do any of this stuff a little better than us maybe, and kind of putting our creative interpretation on some of their words of advice, I would say. And
Got it.
so that really helped catalyze everything for us.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the design process.
Yeah.
So if somebody brings you an idea, right, and they're like, I want a table, like you're showing me this amazing table you're building
Yeah.
for a restaurant, or you want a shelf or something. How much of the creative process involves is that interaction with a customer versus how much do you just bring like an idea and a sketch and then you run with it?
Well, I think that it depends on the piece and the project.
Sure.
So I would say, for the most part, our design process goes by the customer or the client reaching out.
Okay.
They kind of have, typically at least, they have an idea of what they want, at least general dimensions or a general finish. You know, I would like a wooden table with metal legs. Anything is a good starting point.
Yeah.
Then we kind of bring them into the studio, show them some samples, discuss other projects we've done.
Yeah.
And we kind of brainstorm together, and then our team takes the design upon themselves, and we kind of put our spin on it, present options to the client, and they select one of the options.
Do you guys use manual sketches or CAD, or what do you guys do?
We use SketchUp and Rhino. Those are
Okay,
the
so you
two.
use computer programs?
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
you know, in our line of work, something that separates what we do from your typical carpenter or woodworker is that everything is dialed down to super, super accurate measurements.
So like tight tolerances. and-
Absolutely, yeah, very tight tolerances. We use the CNC router a lot, which is a computer numerical control router, so you can dial things down to a 64th of an inch accuracy.
Okay, so you use a CNC. Actually, so that's a really interesting question. How do you
Yeah.
balance? We were talking about old tools before
Yeah,
the show
yeah.
started, because I restored a 1946 Delta bandsaw that I have at home, and you were talking about how mostly here you use newer tools. How do you balance the fact that you make things by hand and you fabricate these custom projects, and how do you use technology to make sure you use kind of the latest advancements, and you know, what's that balance?
That's a great question. It's a very fine line for us, and we don't feel pressure to do anything any certain way.
Okay.
A lot of people in our industry say, oh, you know, if you're not building with hand planes and chisels, you're not a real woodworker. Well, we don't really see it that way. We use those tools every day in this shop.
Yeah.
There's no question about that, but we also use technology to our advantage. It's a big part of what we do.
Okay, cool. And can you think of an example of a time when maybe you made a trade-off when it comes to that? So something that would have been maybe quote unquote more authentic, or that a customer wanted a certain way, and then you said like, well, if you use technology, you can do something faster.
I think I have a perfect example. So oftentimes when we have exposed joinery, dovetail joints or half-blind dovetails,
Sure.
anything like that, we'll use a jig rather than cutting them by hand, just because, you know, we're a big business. We have a lot of people in here running around, and efficiency and time are very important for us. So sometimes taking the time to hand cut your dovetails, for example, is a lot more time-consuming than cutting with a jig. So that's a great example of when we're kind of using technology to our advantage to make things a little faster.
That's amazing. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And there's some compromises too. You know, one of the first signs we made, we CNC cut this sign onto some wood, and she still wanted that handmade feel. So what we did is we took a hand burning tool and we burned in the negative of the image to give it that feeling of having some imperfections. Because
Yeah.
the CNC does it perfect.
Yeah.
And we can introduce those imperfections, and that's really
Yeah.
where we can kind of walk that line.
Just take a rasp and hit it a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we've done that.
Some chains, you know,
Yeah.
we'll burn it a little bit with a torch.
I gotta confess, this denim jacket's seen a lot of miles now, but when I first got it, I was like, this thing looks too new. So I
Yeah.
actually took a rasp to it. I was like, fuck it, I gotta,
Well,
make
you
it.
know, that's also something that is kind of cool about what we do. All of us have a scenic background. So everyone that works in this studio, except for our two newest hires, all have a background in scenic carpentry. So set design, museum exhibits. So faux finishes are something we're really good at, and we've learned a lot from a lot of amazing people we've worked with over the
Yeah.
years on how to age and faux finish pieces.
Yeah. The guitar industry's actually been a big leader in that with the whole relicking thing. That's an entire different podcast. But
Get into
it's,
that.
yeah, exactly. Some people actually hate it, and some people love it. It's kind of divided.
Yeah, I think it depends on the piece, but we are more than happy to entertain those ideas when clients say they want it to look a little rougher or more rustic.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about sustainability. So this is something that is really important, and I have a passing familiarity with this because of CITES regulations that have
Right.
recently, actually as of a few months ago, prohibited the importation of rosewood and things like that, and now the people are looking for substitutes. And then you also have folks like Bob Taylor, for example, the big guitar maker in Southern California, who is planting I should say, replacement forests for a lot of the wood, like the old ebony and things like that are getting used up in the guitar making process. How do you guys think about sustainability in your business, given you're working with pretty big chunks of wood, just looking around?
Yeah, that's also a great question. We actually, we care a lot about that. That's a big part of our business. That's actually basically the meaning behind the name as well. So almost 80% of all the lumber that comes through our shop is recycled lumber. In Louisiana and in the Gulf South in general, you have a lot of old cypress and pine at your disposal.
Yeah.
All these homes that are getting gutted that are hundreds of years old. And, you know, people just kind of pile it up and send it to the trash. So we come in.
So Mike was very generous. He actually gave me an old board that I'm going to make a guitar out of.
Definitely.
Of 100-year-old demolition New Orleans pine. So thank you so much
Absolutely,
for that.
man. I'm sure it'll go to great use with you.
I'll send you guys a picture.
You know, at the beginning of our business, a lot of that sustainability started out with doing exactly that, going into dumpsters and pulling out these old pieces of wood.
Yeah.
And that was how we were sustainable. It's like, hey, we're saving this from the landfill.
Right.
And that's kind of shifted as we've grown as a business.
We've implemented many new things. You know, all the lights in here are LED lights. We have water filters in the shop, so no one's bringing plastic water bottles. You know, we're very engaged in our community. We give back to the community all the time. We always make, you know, cutting boards or coasters for auctions to help any local businesses that ask. We just try to be as ingrained in the community as we can. And we use a lot of materials that can substitute lumber. We use synthetic materials like Richlite, which are resin and paper-based materials. So, you know, if a client says, I want this beautiful exterior bench for my restaurant, we'll say, well, why don't we maybe take a stab at this with Richlite instead? It's a little more expensive, but there's almost zero maintenance, and you get to be a lot more sustainable. You don't have to worry about a beautiful tree having to be taken down somewhere. Furthermore, we are, at the end of this year, going to start replanting trees. So that is something very new for us, but we like to offset that 20% that is new lumber that we use. We're going to offset that by planting.
So that's what makes 80-20 is 80.
Yeah, 80-20 is what we've gathered with all of the research we've done, going through past projects, trying to figure out real numbers on it. It's about 80% to 20%
that's
ratio.
Pretty high percentage of reclaimed wood.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, we always recommend it to our clients. We have a lot of it, as you saw in our storage room.
I am so excited about it. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but having a 100-year-old New Orleans piece of pine here is
it's
awesome.
Beautiful. Once you mill it down, it's beautiful.
You can hear that.
Yeah, like the resonance.
Let's see
if we can put it on the mic.
Oh yeah.
It actually vibrates the whole thing. It's cool.
And one thing that's been really helpful for us is we're part of this green organization called Life City, and they rank businesses. You become a member, and they rank you on your sustainability, your green factor, how much you're giving back, what is your footprint overall in the city. And that's been huge for us, reducing our paint use of high VOC paints to almost all water-based, limited oil-based paints, and just focusing on local vendors is the biggest thing. Has been with Life City, especially in the wood aspect of it, is we can't just buy all this exotic wood like Ipe. We used to think Ipe was great, but in fact, Ipe takes almost 300 years to mature a full tree. And we're not going to use a tree that takes 300 years to grow. So we're shifting to black locust.
So do you use any exotic woods at all? Have you guys used ebony or rosewood or anything like that?
Not anymore. We've only ever really used Ipe, and it's plentiful down here.
How do you spell Ipe? I have never.
IPE, and it's basically Brazilian walnut.
IPE.
Oh,
and it's some people call it ironwood. It's so dense. It's incredible wood, and you know, these exotic oily hardwoods are great for exterior use as long as you maintain them, but we care too much about that, and as a fabrication business that uses a lot of wood.
I mean, a guitar uses a little bit of wood, but you know, a table uses a lot more wood.
Or 40 tables for a restaurant. You know, we're about to make 50 tables for a client, all out of wood, but every single piece of wood is recycled. We're not using an ounce of brand new lumber for 50 tables. So that's what we aim to do to try and offset.
Is that something that your clients then in turn highlight when they talk to their customers? So for example, like, will this place like talk about like, these tables are made, you know, with all reclaimed wood, or is that something that?
I'm not sure. I've never really asked any of the clients if they go on to tell people that this is recycled. Yeah,
because you could enable them to kind of tell that story.
Absolutely,
too, right?
I think some of them care a lot about it, and some of them request that. You know, we just finished a restaurant for a good friend of ours called the Dalle in the CBD, and all the wood we used in the whole restaurant was recycled materials. So, you know, he requested that. He's very in tune with the earth. He loves being as sustainable as possible. So for that project, it was something that was highlighted. But for most of our work, it's really just us doing it because we want to do it. And it also looks beautiful. It's really high quality stuff too.
No, it's amazing, man. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
you can't fake it. We've tried.
Oh, yeah.
So reclaimed wood is reclaimed wood. There's a finite amount of it in the world, and we're going to use as much of it as we can to repurpose for as long as we can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's the wackiest request you've ever gotten from a customer? So what's a piece that somebody brought to you and you guys looked at each other like, whoa,
That's a great question. You know, we've had all of our inquiries for work have been pretty run-of-the-mill, nothing too far-fetched, but you know, the first thing that comes to my mind about wacky and odd things are probably all the characters in our industry, the different types of people we work with. I mean, you go to some of these lumber yards and it's 4 generations of the same family selling the same lumber in the same spot here in New Orleans. So you meet a lot of characters, a lot of people with, 3 fingers on one hand, all sorts of shop errors in the past. So for us, it's pretty streamlined in the sense that our inquiries for work are pretty typical. You know, no one comes to us and asks us to build totally ludicrous things. I think they see our brand and they see our company and they know that this is, high quality furniture and interior production, commercial production also. But I think for me, at least, I don't know about Jordan, but my odd and wacky feelings for our line of work would be with the people. There's some oddballs out there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, give me a
Especially
story.
here in New Orleans.
Without naming names.
I can definitely give you a good story.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we did this live edge desk, so basically a slab desk. And the client was intent upon cutting down a tree sustainably. And
it was a tree that had to be cut down anyway. The roots were doing some damage to somebody's crops, so it had to go.
And so she didn't want to go up there alone to get this tree milled down and all that. So we went up there, and she ended up not even coming. And so
where's up there?
Up there is
there.
Where is there?
Angie.
There is Angie, Louisiana.
Louisiana.
It's right in the boot of Louisiana, in between Mississippi. It's right on the border. It's right up there.
Yeah. I know where that is in the map.
It was deep backwoods, and it was an incredible experience. This guy, we came up to his basically a complex, and he's been milling trees down for years. So this guy is. He has 3,000-year-old glacial cypress. So he has cypress from when there were still glaciers in Louisiana. And he's a little out there. He said he was going to cook lunch for us, which we thought was great. We're like, all right, we're going to get a good backwoods Cajun
country lunch.
He opened up a couple cans of Spam and some chips. And we were just like, I'm not sure.
He had one chair in his whole house.
One chair in his whole house.
One chair.
He had vines growing inside of the house. It was it was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And so we went and cut up this tree and slice it into, there's actually still some in the shop over there. We slice it into 1.5 inch and 3 inch thick slabs. Okay. Made a desk out of it. And the guy was great, but he was definitely out there on the edges, the fringes of existence of what people expect your elderly life to be like.
His compound was an old Civil War refugee area. Oh. So he said, and there were 2 buildings on his property that he didn't touch since he purchased the property. And you could walk in and there were picture frames on the wall and old chairs, and it was very ominous. It was a little creepy. But he was, I totally forgot about this. He was definitely an oddball. Yeah. For sure.
That's crazy. Yeah. Spam. Yeah, you were expecting something this guy probably hunts his own meat.
Yeah. And what I've found with a lot of these guys who pull trees, we get a lot of sinker cypress. So sinker cypress is cypress trees that have fallen down deep into the mud. They've been down there for 100 years maybe. And there's these guys who wrap chains around these old logs in the Mississippi River. They get some tractors, they pull them out, and they mill them down. And it's a certain kind of person to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So these guys are, they're focused on getting these trees out. Yeah. And they're
by any means necessary.
Yeah. They're a little coon ass. That's what they say down in New Orleans.
What do they say?
Coon ass. It's like the Cajun. It's like the Cajun backwoods.
Oh, okay. I got a Cajun story for you. I was in Lafayette, Louisiana, and they taught me how to hunt gators, which is they put a chicken on a hook. Yep. And then they hang it from a branch over the water, and then they said the size of the gator you get depends on how high up you put up the chicken off the ground.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's its own little world down here.
And then you have the people too that hunt catfish, right?
Oh yeah, with
The
their bare hands.
Noodlers. They
Yep,
get in
yep.
there and they get under there.
Yep.
That's probably the cousin of the dude that helped you cut down the tree.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a certain kind of person to stick their arm in a deep, dark hole underwater
Yeah.
and have a 12-pound giant catfish.
Yeah, bite you
And you
Yep.
pull it out.
on purpose. Yeah. It's
And
like,
you know, so I have to say, just because, you know, Jordan and I have made this our home because of so many amazing things down here. As funny as that is, it's another part of what makes it so cool.
Of course,
is that
yeah.
there's this amazing culture down here where you have people still in 2017 sticking their hands down into the water trying to get a catfish to bite on.
I went to the Cajun Festival in Lafayette, Louisiana a while back, and I remember there was this guy singing out there on stage in like half English, half Creole.
Yeah.
And you basically understand the thing you're saying.
Yeah.
Having alligator jambalaya. So yeah, it's definitely got its own flavor and power.
Very much so.
That's
Very,
awesome.
very rich culture. It's great.
Yeah, you told me. So you're from Chicago. Are you from
Yeah.
New Orleans? Or?
So I'm from Arkansas.
Okay.
I'm a northerner compared to Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly. When you call Arkansas the north, then you know you're deep.
So deep.
So I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas, and
Okay.
Yeah, so Mike and I been here for a few years now. I've been
Okay.
here for 5.
Yeah, I'm in my 8th year now.
Cool. So you guys, let's talk about that a little bit. What are other ways in which you guys look to get involved with the community here locally? I mean, obviously you have friends down the road that make amazing gin aged in whiskey barrels, but also with local community. I mean, New Orleans is a city that has had a lot of struggles in the past, and especially with Katrina hitting it, was a very difficult time. And it's a city that's still to this day rebuilding. What are ways in which you guys get involved with that?
So, we try to get involved in as many ways as possible.
Yeah.
Down here, things are very word of mouth down here. So
Yeah.
for us, a big part of our business was getting involved in the community, just in general, meeting people, networking, bringing business cards everywhere we went, trying to befriend everybody. Because down here, you can't just be good at what you do. You also have to be somebody that people want to be with and
Yeah.
be around.
Yeah.
It's a very, very friendly city in that regard. So on top of the fact that we try to be involved in as much giving back as possible, we're also involved in education. We teach at Loyola University. We teach a design program there.
Cool.
So that's a big thing for us, trying to kind of, not to sound corny, but trying to empower the youth to realize that they can do something as fun as this for a living.
Yeah.
We love what we do every day. We come in with smiles on our face, and everyone that works here does
Yeah.
as well. So
And we need more people who do things with their hands
Absolutely.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like, it's been almost like a forgotten. Well, I mean, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs does a lot of work around this. He's got like the Mike Rowe Works thing where he tries to empower people to think about more expansively about what a good job is, and thinking like, yeah, you can make stuff with your hands and be awesome, and it's a good thing. And like the trades is something that almost you got this big push, like everybody has to go to college, everybody has to go have a desk job, and that's just really not true, right? There's a
Right.
lot of other ways in which you can make a great living, such as making furniture.
Exactly. And, I know NPR is actually doing a traveling podcast right now.
I just heard about that today.
Of, robot-proof jobs. And it's funny to think about that because robots, I guess, could make what we make
Yeah.
to a degree, right? But people want things that are handmade. There's this renaissance happening of people wanting artisanal,
Yeah.
handmade, thought-provoking pieces of furniture even.
Yeah.
And I would say we have a robot-proof job right now because people want things that have some soul to it. They want things that have a feeling
sure.
behind it. It's the same idea behind the reclaimed wood.
Yeah.
This wood is hundreds of years old. It was in a house. It saw so much over those years. And now it's turned into a beautiful coffee table for you.
Yeah.
And there's this romantic idea behind it. And also, we're here, we're making things, we're young, and we're doing what we want to do without anybody telling us anything else. It's great. It's
That's
we
awesome.
just did this. We didn't have a business plan.
Yeah.
We didn't like come up with some ideas. People asked if we could make furniture.
Yeah.
We said yes, and here we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think there seems to be a resurgence all across the country with handmade goods. People, I think, are starting to get fed up with paying these rock bottom prices for things that end up breaking.
Yeah.
And they'd rather pay a little more money. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely. They want something that has meaning and purpose, and also something that they can rely on.
Yeah.
They don't want a piece of furniture that only looks the way they want it to look. They want it to actually function that way as well. So we build, sturdy, real furniture.
Yeah.
And we get to say, come over to the studio, tell me what materials you like. You can come bring it back. If there's something wrong with it, we'll fix it for you. It's just more personal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's a really cool story. Other than the part that I just heard that NPR is also doing a traveling podcast. I can't believe they have the nerve to also do a traveling podcast.
What's wrong with these government-funded people?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I actually have to listen to that. Very cool. Let's talk about New Orleans a little bit more. So what is it like to do business here? Have you had interactions with the government maybe, and like how has that been? And also other small business people?
Yeah, so I would say all in all, New Orleans is a very good place to do business.
Yeah.
You need to know what you're doing. You need to have some type of plan. We found out probably 3 or 4 months into starting this business that we really needed to come up with a general plan. We're not really the type of business that has a 5-year projection documented anywhere. We have our goals. We have ideas of where we want to be. But for the most part, New Orleans is more about being confident in what service or item that you're providing to the public, and just being able to really back that up and being friendly and inviting at the same time. People down here are not moving at New York pace. You know what I mean? It's a lot slower here. It's a lot more personal here. That's so awesome. I would say that about New Orleans business.
Yeah, and one thing I've really noticed about New Orleans is that people are incredibly receptive to young entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young people doing business here in their mid-20s to mid-30s who are starting businesses, restaurants. There's like 66 new restaurants in the past year in New Orleans, 1,800 I think total.
Jeez.
And people are very receptive to motivated, excited, good work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been really helpful for us because we've put good work out there and we've really had a great response for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and to touch on the question about government, we've had a small run-in. We did a really cool project with the Orleans Parish School Board, and that was awesome. They were a fantastic client. We designed a beautiful dais for them, which is basically a big executive board panel desk for everyone to sit at. There are 9 board members. Each one has 2.5 feet of space on this beautiful walnut custom-built dais, and they were excellent. So our only interaction with the local government has been really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say in the time you've been, I'm sure that you've learned a lot of lessons, but what would you say in the time that you've had your business is the number one lesson, or kind of, a lot of our audience is people who are either currently operating a small business or thinking about starting one. What would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned?
Well, I would say it's very hard to pick one lesson.
Sure.
There are many, many things, and it's very tough. If you're planning on starting your own business, as long as you have a good idea about what you want to do and you know that there is quality behind your drive, then go for it because it's very rewarding. But my one word of advice would be just be prepared to really be able to back up what you are doing and why you're doing it, because there are many low points in the beginning mostly that kind of are discouraging, but you soon realize that those are just stepping stones. They're tests, and you have to go through those things.
It's like Indiana Jones on the Last Crusade. You got to believe. Take the steps.
Absolutely. And it really isn't easy. Maybe it has been for some entrepreneurs out there, but in our experience, it was not easy. It was a struggle, but it's very rewarding because you realize that you do it all for yourself, and in turn, you really get a lot out of it.
I've talked to dozens of people all over the country, soon to be, well, actually not quite soon to be 100, but dozens, and not one of them has said that their journey was easy in any way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what we're talking about. It's a grind. A business owner has a job that almost can't have a description. You just wear so many hats. Any problem that occurs, it's your problem. Yeah. So you have to be able to resolve things without getting too personal, without getting too wrapped up in the nitty-gritty of each issue. You have to just be able to say, I'm going to throw an umbrella over everything, and I'm just going to do it, whatever I have to do.
You got to be a little crazy, too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So, I tell people, so I've done every job in my company, but I also tell people, like, pretty much, it's kind of funny, but it's true. I wouldn't hire myself to do any job at my company.
Definitely not.
Definitely
not.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've and Jordan and I have a good relationship because we've really found our balance in what our responsibilities are.
Actually, I would love to hear about that. So I just, a few episodes ago, interviewed, so I currently have a business partner, his name is Sean. By originally, I started my company in grad school with a guy named Joe, and then Sean joined later. And Joe left the business a few years in, and he was just on the podcast talking about what it was like for us to break up, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So what has been your co-founder relationship like, and what makes it work?
What a story that is.
Yeah, it's all over the place. We founded the company with one of our friends, so there were 3 of us in the beginning.
Okay.
And he left to pursue personal goals of his. We then also had a 4th member for a very brief period.
Okay.
We were in a position where we needed physical help. We had everything laid out. We had the jobs, but we could not get them done in time. We needed more people to help us, and we also couldn't pay anyone. So we brought someone else on board as a part owner, and they were basically paid in turn by equity stake in the company. That didn't work out as planned as well. So after a few months, we ended that as well. So it ended up just Jordan and myself. And, we basically have 50-50 split on everything. And then it took a little while, but we figured out what our roles are and what we are each individually responsible for.
What is that? What's the split?
So I handle sales and acquisitions, payroll. I monitor all of the money in and out. I deal with things like marketing and, kind of day-to-day operations. And Jordan handles materials, scheduling. Jordan's kind of like the project manager. So he handles the big projects, and I handle kind of the smaller day-to-day things, like all the small pieces we build in between our big commercial jobs. I handle those projects. And both of us, Jordan a little more than myself, but both of us are always dipping in and out of the field.
How much time do you guys spend in the actual shop actually cutting wood?
It's tough to say now. Probably. For me, I think it's probably about like 80%, 20% now. I'm 80% business and 20% out in the field installing or cutting things or cleaning up.
What about you, Jordan?
I'd say it's about 50-50. I'd say I'm about split even because we are licensed contractors as well, which has been a big thing for us. And our responsibilities are very different. I couldn't do this without Mike, and Mike couldn't do this without me. I'm not good at responding to emails or text messages. Let's be real. I'm just not. I just don't do it immediately. But Mike is so on it, and that's key for us. Mike can handle correspondence, making sure everything's getting taken care of on the business end of it. And I know that we have every material coming into the shop. Everything's getting built. Everybody has the plans. Everybody knows what's happening at any moment, anytime. And if they have any questions, they can come to me and I can answer it immediately. And that has been huge for us. Because Mike is really focused on finding those jobs 6 months, 8 months from now. Which is, it doesn't sound like a lot of work. It's like, we have a meeting on Tuesday for this job. And in December, it's June. It's like, all right, cool. At the beginning, it was a little bit of tension. All right, well, you got this meeting, whatever. You should be in the shop working. But now we understand that it is so important to establish these relationships in the beginning because that job in December could be our biggest job we've ever had. We just don't know. And
I can relate, man. I mean, for me, like my business partner is significantly smarter than I am. He's a PhD in computer science, and he is runs a lot of our processing, a lot of our things. And you could say the same thing about like who is this guy like gallivanting around the country with his dog and a microphone and a guitar, like interviewing people, right? But a lot of that, like it's
important stuff.
Yeah, it's. I think Sean and I have developed a really deep respect relationship about like each one of our particular strengths, and I think that's really important in that relationship.
Absolutely. I think a really good way to summarize it would be we always make decisions for the company together. But my job is to keep the company growing and to keep clients happy, and Jordan's job is to handle the projects at hand. So it works really well, and we've kind of dabbled in bringing other people in to help with administrative work, but what we've learned is that the best way to do it is just to let me have a full schedule of administrative work to do throughout the day. And what that does is it gives our clients a sense of importance, when the owner of the business is the one that they get to correspond with. Whether you want a table or you want us to build your next restaurant for you. It's really nice to be able to talk to somebody who can make decisions and
That's
who
awesome.
can give you full information.
That's awesome.
And just to go off what you were asking about, one piece of advice I would give
Yeah.
is, if you're starting a business and, it's scary. Let's be real.
Sure.
It's scary.
Oh, yeah.
My biggest piece of advice would be things are going to hit the shit's going to hit the fan.
Yep.
Just deal with it. Figure it out immediately. Just figure it out. It's going to be all right. You're going to figure this stuff out. We had so many walls that came up when we started this business that screamed, "Hey, stop, quit. It's not gonna work out. You're not gonna. This is not gonna work. What are you doing? You're too young. You're too young. You don't have the experience."
Yeah.
And we found a lot of pushback from older people who were doing the same things.
Yeah.
That were like, "No, you can't do that. You're only 25. You're only 24 years old. You can't do that." And we're like, "No, look, like, we're here. We're doing it. We're making it happen."
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of pushback from all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
And
And that fear can take over, right?
oh
Too.
yeah,
Can totally take over.
for a long time in the beginning, at least for me, the only people that were supportive were the people I was working with and my family.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like, "You seem like you're in over your head." There was a time where we were so, I would say, in over our heads that we had to just take a step back and say to ourselves, what do we want out of this? What are we going to get out of this? How do we move forward without ruining our lives? It's really hard when you quit your job and you're only reliant on your own self to generate income.
Yep.
We had bills to pay, we had rent.
Still happening.
Still happening.
Let's not sugarcoat this.
Yeah.
We still struggle with this today.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still paying back, like the loans that I took out in 2012 when I didn't pay myself for 6 months.
Absolutely. And we put the business first. So Jordan and I take a little more than we used to for ourselves personally,
Sure.
but we make very little amount of money.
Yeah.
Our lowest paid employee makes more than we make as owners.
Yeah. I mean, as an owner, you're always trying to. I pay myself
Absolutely.
as little as I can so that I can pay more employees and grow the business.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because
Pablo, and
that's
you
what
look
you
around.
got to do.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
You can't see it. And you're listening to this podcast, you can't see it. But if you look around,
Yeah.
this is what 2 years of grinding
Yeah.
and not taking a lot back does. You get a
Yeah.
6,000 square foot
This is.
facility.
I mean, this is an amazing facility we're sitting in.
Yeah.
You can build whatever you want to build.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now. We've hit that mark, and now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, where are we going? What are
Yeah.
we doing?
And it's worth it for us because we know that we're okay. We make enough money to live our lives. Neither of us are in dire straits,
Yeah.
but we sacrifice living that kind of more luxurious lifestyle so that we can continue to grow our business
Man, what
because
else
it's
you
going
need,
to pay
man?
us
You got
back
some
in the end.
guitars, a bottle of gin,
And good company.
and a couple dogs. That are hanging out with Muddy Waggers.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more about. That's good. Thank you.
You're getting the double shot now.
exactly.
Welcome
Yeah,
to
yeah,
yeah.
NOLA.
Water
Thank
in
you.
there,
Thank
love.
you. Yeah, water that down a little bit. It's a little excessive. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Dude. Right
Cheers,
before
guys.
we talk about your goals, what do you guys? I mean, you guys have been really impressive in growing this. Where do you want to go with this? What's your 10-year ambition?
I think we kind of made an agreement to never have a goal that was really set in stone, just because what we've learned over the last 2.5 years is that things change all the time, and especially in our line of work. We've been lucky that we've almost kind of created a little bit of a signature style. We do this kind of beautiful rubbed metal look with this old reclaimed wood. And it's very much a New Orleans thing, but we've kind of been lucky that we haven't had to keep up with the trends in the design world because they're ever shifting, and a lot of fabricators and designers have to kind of stick with the trends. And so for us, what we've decided is our goals are more about ourselves rather than the work that we're producing.
Yeah, you can help set the trends.
Absolutely. Hey, hopefully
That's
so.
where I wanna be.
That's where we would like to be.
I want to set the trend.
Yeah.
So, thinking about 10-year plan, you asked, right? So we have this great warehouse here. That we're building great furniture in. We just demoed part of it to create a showroom.
Yeah.
So something we've been talking about this over the past week a lot. We've had, I don't know, hours of conversation of, okay, what direction do we want to move in? Do we want to sell retail furniture? Do we want to be like a West Elm where we have a line of furniture we just sell? Do we want to be super custom?
Yeah.
That you call us up and you say, I want this exact thing.
Yeah.
Or do we have, a bunch of home goods, wallets, belts, T-shirts, cutting boards that you can just come in and buy?
Yeah, you have that shirt is yours, right?
The shirt is ours.
Okay.
This wallet is ours.
Oh, wow.
So we've produced
That's
leather
very cool.
goods. We've produced belts and wallets. We've produced keychains.
That's a cool wallet, man.
T-shirts.
You guys sell these?
We used to. But, to go back to your question on sustainability, we felt like in the bigger picture of things, leather is not something we want to be too involved with. It's not very sustainable. And we feel like we're better at other things. But I do think what Jordan is saying is a good thing to talk about. Even though it's pretty new revelation for us.
We're figuring it out.
We think,
what are we doing?
It's ever changing. But I think the beauty of this showroom that we're trying to put into our new office space is to kind of test the waters and to see what people like and to test reception from the public on how, maybe we design a coffee table and we put 3 of them in the showroom and we see if people like them. People would obviously be able to buy them. But I think at the moment, our goal is to just kind of go with the flow. We have a lot of work right now. We're very busy, so there's no pressure at the moment. We've locked in some jobs for the next 4 or 5 months, and things are good. But we always want to develop, and we always want to get better at what we do. So for me, at least, I think my 10-year goal is to just continue to get better, continuing to spread this very authentic love for furniture and for building and creating. Everyone that works for us shares that vision with us, and everyone in here kind of has that same goal, just to continue to produce beautiful heirloom quality furniture and furnishings.
I love that term, heirloom quality.
Yeah,
That's
things
good
that
stuff.
last.
Yeah, things that work. You know that song, Guy Clark?
Yeah.
It's a great song. Yeah, I'm a music nerd.
You some music, don't you?
Most podcasts.
Good thing you're in town for the weekend.
Yeah, I am in town. I've only had a couple. The weekends have been Chicago, Nashville, and New Orleans.
Great music towns.
So
That's
they've
great.
all been great
Can't beat
music
that.
towns. Yeah. My guitar teacher is a Chicago blues legend
Awesome.
guitarist, so it's Carl Weathers.
Make sure you get to Frenchman Street tonight.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what people have been telling me to go.
It's amazing. It's like the only place in the country you can go to 10 or 12 different bars within like a quarter mile of each other, and it's excellent music, world-class quality jazz.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah, I'm crashing a wedding this weekend. So
awesome.
my roommate from grad school is here in town coincidentally, and he's going to a wedding. So I guess I'm going.
That's gonna be great, man. New Orleans weddings are a lot of fun.
I'm glad I have a single collared shirt during this whole trip. So
you can wear that denim jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can pay your sweet ass. I'm wearing the denim jacket, but. Cool. Is there anything else that you want our audience to know about your business? Where can people find you? Do you ship? So if somebody from Seattle wants a table, can they?
So we definitely do ship. We've done projects in Philadelphia. We've done projects in Florida. We're about to do a project in Austin, Texas. So
if you guys come to town, let me know.
Absolutely, we will.
You guys got a free place to stay.
Great. I love that.
Awesome.
We definitely ship. I think it's just the fact that we're not quite set up to ship a lot. Yeah. So really, it's about the client really wanting our work.
Stuff's heavy, right?
It's heavy. It's like, shipping is not cheap when you're talking about big live edge slab tables and things like that. Yeah. So we absolutely do ship, though.
Awesome. And your websites, and are you guys on Instagram? And,
Facebook? Our handle is @Goodwood NOLA on Instagram. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Goodwood NOLA. And on the web, we are goodwoodnola.com. Very easy to remember.
All right. Well, Mike and Jordan, you guys have been incredible guests at Small Business War Stories. Have lots of really cool. Congratulations on all your progress.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for the Euphrosyne whiskey barrel aged gin that we're enjoying here. And,
cheers again.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thanks,
really
Pablo. It was great meeting you.
All right, take care. Thank you for listening to Small Business War Stories. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or on our blog at blog.proven.com. If you have an idea for us, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at podcast@proven.com. See you next time. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.